Abraham Lincoln Walks at Midnight by Vachel Lindsay. Read for LibriVox.org by Ron Altman. It is portentous, and a thing of state, that here at midnight in our little town a mourning figure walks and will not rest near the old courthouse, pacing up and down. Or by his homestead or in shadowed yards he lingers where his children used to play. Or through the market on the well-worn stones he stalks until the dawn stars burn away. A bronzed, lank man, his suit of ancient black, a famous high top hat, and plain worn shawl make him the quaint great figure that men love, the prairie lawyer, master of us all. He cannot sleep upon his hillside now, he is among us, as in times before, and we who toss and lie awake for long breathe deep and start to see him pass the door. His head is bowed, he thinks on men and kings. Yea, when the sick world cries, how can he sleep? Too many peasants fight, they know not why. Too many homesteads in black terror weep. The sins of all the warlords burn his heart. He sees the dreadnoughts scouring every main. He carries on his shawl-wrapped shoulders now the bitterness, the folly, and the pain. He cannot rest until a spirit dawn shall come, the shining hope of Europe free, the league of sober folk, the workers' earth, bringing long peace to cornland, alp, and sea. It breaks his heart that kings must murder still, that all his hours of travail here for men seem yet in vain, and who will bring white peace that he may sleep upon his hill again. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Annie Laurie by Ivor Gurney. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. The high barns lit by many a guttering flare of flickering candle, dangerous, hence forbidden, to warm soft straw whereby the cold floor is hidden, on which we soon shall rest without a care. War is forgotten, gossip fills the air. Of home and laughter sounds beyond the midden, under the stars where youth makes joy unchidden, of gods or men and mocks at sorrow there. But hark! What sudden pure untainted passion seizes us now, and stills the garrulous? A song of old immortal dedication to beauty's service and one woman's heart. No tears we show, no sign of flame in us, this hour of stars and music set apart. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
An Apology for the Bottle of Volcanic by Vachel Lindsay. Read for LibriVox.org by Andrew Gaunce. Sometimes I dip my pen and find the bottle full of fire. The salamanders flying forth I cannot but admire. It's Etna or Vesuvius if those big things were small, and then 'tis but itself again, and does not smoke at all, and so my blood grows cold. I say the bottle held but ink, and if you thought it otherwise, the worser for your think. And then, just as I throw my scribbled paper on the floor, the bottle says fee fi fo fum, and steams and shouts some more. Oh, sad, deceiving ink, as bad as liquor in its way. All demons of a bottle size have pranced from you today. and seized my pen for hobby horse as witches ride a broom, and left a trail of brimstone words and blots and gobs of gloom. And yet when I am extra good and say my prayers at night, and mind my ma and do the chores and speak to folks polite, my bottle spreads a rainbow mist, and from the vapor fine 10,000 troops from fairyland come riding in a line. I've seen them on their chargers race around my study chair. They opened wide the window and rode forth upon the air. The army widened as it went, and into myriads grew. Oh, how the lances shimmered, how the silvery trumpets blew. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
At Newport by George H. Boker. Read for LibriVox.org by Colleen McMahon. I stand beside the sea once more. Its measured murmur comes to me. The breeze is low upon the shore and low upon the purple sea. Across the bay the flat sand sweeps to where the helmed lighthouse stands upon his post and vigil keeps, far seaward marshalling all the lands. The hollow surges rise and fall, the ships steal up the quiet bay. I scarcely hear or see at all, my thoughts are flown so far away. They follow on yon seabird's track, beyond the beacon's crystal dome. They will not falter, nor come back, until they find my darkened home. Ah, woe is me, 'tis scarce a year, since gazing o'er this moaning main, my thoughts flew home without a fear, and with content returned again. Today, alas, the fancies dark that from my laden bosom flew, returning, came into the ark, not with the olive, with the yew. The ships draw slowly towards the strand, the watchers' hearts with hope beat high, but ne'er again wilt thou touch land, lost, lost in yonder sapphire sky. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Back by Wilfred Gibson, read for LibriVox.org by Josh Ausfahl. They ask me where I've been, and what I've done and seen, but what can I reply, who know it wasn't I, but someone just like me, who went across the sea, and with my head in hands, killed men in foreign lands, though I must bear the blame, because he bore my name. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Cologne by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sherr. In Cologne, a town of monks and bones, and pavements fanged with murderous stones, and rags, and hags, and hideous wenches, I counted 72 stenches, all well defined, and several stinks. Ye nymphs that reign o'er sewers and sinks, the river Rhine, it is well known, doth wash your city of Cologne. But tell me, nymphs, what power divine shall henceforth wash the river Rhine? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Cremation of Sam McGee by Robert W. Service. Read for LibriVox by Ron Altman. There are strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The northern lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was that night on the marge of Lake Lebarge I cremated Sam McGee. Now Sam McGee was from Tennessee, where the cotton blooms and blows. Why he left his home in the South to roam round the pole, God only knows. He was always cold, but the land of gold seemed to hold him like a spell, though he'd often say in his homely way that he'd sooner live in hell. On a Christmas day we were mushing our way over the Dawson Trail. Talk of your cold! Through the parka's fold it stabbed like a driven nail. If our eyes we'd close, then the lashes froze till sometimes we couldn't see. It wasn't much fun, but the only one to whimper was Sam McGee. And that very night, as we lay packed tight in our robes beneath the snow, and the dogs were fed and the stars o'erhead were dancing heel and toe, he turned to me and, "Cap," says he, "I'll cash in this trip, I guess, and if I do, I'm asking that you won't refuse my last request." Well, he seemed so low that I couldn't say no. Then he says, with a sort of moan, "It's the cursed cold, and it's got right hold, till I'm chilled clean through to the bone. Yet 'tain't being dead, it's my awful dread of the icy grave that pains. So I want you to swear that, foul or fair, you'll cremate my last remains." A pal's last need is a thing to heed, so I swore I would not fail. And we started on at the streak of dawn, but God, he looked ghastly pale. He crouched on the sleigh, and he raved all day of his home in Tennessee, and before nightfall a corpse was all that was left of Sam McGee. There wasn't a breath in that land of death, and I hurried, horror-driven, with a corpse half hid that I couldn't get rid because of a promise given. It was lashed to the sleigh, and it seemed to say, "You may tax your brawn and brains, but you promised true, and it's up to you to cremate those last remains." Now a promise made is a debt unpaid, and the trail has its own stern code. In the days to come, though my lips were dumb, in my heart how I cursed that load. In the long, long night, by the lone firelight, while the huskies round in a ring howled out their woes to the homeless snows. Oh, God, how I loathed the thing! And every day that quiet clay seemed to heavy and heavier grow, and on I went, though the dogs were spent and the grub was getting low. The trail was bad, and I felt half mad, but I swore I would not give in, and I'd often sing to the hateful thing, and it hearkened with a grin, till I came to the marge of Lake Labarge, and a derelict there lay. It was jammed in the ice, but I saw in a trice it was called the Alice May. And I looked at it, and I thought a bit, and I looked at my frozen chum. Then, "Here," said I, with a sudden cry, "is my crematorium." Some planks I tore from the cabin floor, and I lit the boiler fire. Some coal I found that was lying around, and I heaped the fuel higher. The flames just soared, and the furnace roared, such a blaze you seldom see. And I burrowed a hole in the glowing coal, and I stuffed in Sam McGee. Then I made a hike, for I didn't like to hear him sizzle so, and the heavens scowled, and the huskies howled, and the wind began to blow. It was icy cold, but the hot sweat rolled down my cheeks, and I don't know why, and the greasy smoke in an inky cloak went streaking down the sky. I do not know how long in the snow I wrestled with grisly fear, but the stars came out and they danced about, ere again I ventured near. I was sick with dread, but I bravely said, I'll just take a peep inside. I guess he's cooked, and this time I looked. Then the door I opened wide, and there sat Sam, looking cool and calm, in the heart of the furnace roar, and he wore a smile you could see a mile, and he said, Please close that door. It's fine in here, but I greatly fear you'll let in the cold and storm. Since I left Plumtree down in Tennessee, it's the first time I've been warm. There's strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The northern lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was that night on the marge of Lake Labarge. I cremated Sam McGee.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Crepuscule by E. Cummings. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. I will wade out till my thighs are steeped in burning flowers. I will take the sun in my mouth and leap into the ripe air, alive, with closed eyes to dash against darkness. In the sleeping curves of my body shall enter fingers of smooth mastery. With chasteness of sea-girls will I complete the mystery of my flesh. I will rise after 1,000 years, lipping flowers, and set my teeth in the silver of the moon. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Dark Hour by W. H. Davies. Read for LibriVox.org by Jen Warren. And now, when merry winds do blow, and rain makes trees look fresh, an overpowering staleness holds this mortal flesh. Though well I love to feel the rain, and be by winds well blown, the mystery of mortal life doth press me down. And, in this mood, come now what will, shine, rainbow, cuckoo call, there is no thing in heaven or earth can lift my soul. I know not where this state comes from, no cause for grief I know. The earth around is fresh and green, flowers near me grow. I sit between two fair rose trees, red roses on my right, and on my left side roses are a lovely white. The little birds are full of joy, lambs bleating all the day. The colt runs after the old mare, and children play. And still there comes this dark, dark hour, which is not born of care. Into my heart it creeps before I am aware. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Daybreak by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, read for LibriVox.org by Josh Ausfahl. A wind came up out of the sea, and said, O mists, make room for me. It hailed the ships and cried, Sail on, ye mariners, the night is gone. And hurried landward far away, crying, Awake, it is the day. It said unto the forest, Shout, hang all your leafy banners out. It touched the wood bird's folded wing, and said, O bird, awake and sing. And o'er the farms, O chanticleer, your clarion blow, the day is near. It whispered to the fields of corn, Bow down and hail the coming morn. It shouted through the belfry tower, Awake, O bell, proclaim the hour. It crossed the churchyard with a sigh, and said, Not yet, in quiet lie. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Deluge by G.K. Chesterton. redforlibrivox.org. Though giant rains put out the sun, here I stand for a sign. Though earth be filled with waters dark, my cup is filled with wine. Tell to the trembling priest that here, under the deluge rod, one nameless, tattered, broken man stood up and drank to God. Sun has been where the rain is now, bees in the heat to hum. Haply a humming maiden came. Now let the deluge come, brown of aureole, green of garb, straight as a golden rod. Drink to the throne of thunder now, drink to the wrath of God. I in the wreck I held my cup, I clutched my rusty sword, I cocked my tattered feather to the glory of the Lord. Not undone were the heaven and earth, this hollow world thrown up, before one man had stood up straight and drained it like a cup. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
De Profundis by Christina Rossetti. Read for LibriVox.org by Cammie Vavich. Oh, why is heaven built so far? Oh, why is earth set so remote? I cannot reach the nearest star that hangs afloat. I would not care to reach the moon, one round monotonous of change, yet even she repeats her tune beyond my range. I never watch the scattered fire of stars or sun's far trailing train, but all my heart is one desire, and all in vain. For I am bound with fleshly bands, joy, beauty lie beyond my scope. I strain my heart, I stretch my hands, and catch at hope. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Down the Aisles by Meredith Nicholson. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Lone, here in vague cathedral gloom I sit, far from the busy city's noise and jar. Such calm! It seems God might just now have writ a new, sweet song of peace and whispered it from star to star. I almost hear a sacred anthem pealing, as o'er the quiet aisles I turn my eyes. It seems I hear soft prayers to heaven stealing upraised that lead into the light revealing in paradise. I think, how oft have feet of mourners led down these long aisles where perfect silence reigns. How oft have heart-uniting words been said there at the altar whither flowers were spread from love's fair plains. Yes, death and love have hither come and gone, with slow, sad songs, with anthems glad and free. And still without the world treads on and on, in aisles that lead to darkness, or the dawn. O God, in Thee. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Elegy in a Country Churchyard by Gilbert Keith Chesterton. Read for LibriVox.org by Ted Hanlon. The men that worked for England, they have their graves at home, and bees and birds of England about the cross can roam. But they that fought for England, following a falling star, alas, alas for England, they have their graves afar. And they that rule in England, in stately conclave met, alas, alas for England, they have no graves as yet. End of poem. This reading is in the public domain.
Epitaph For Myself by Count Cullen. Read by Mike Overby, Midland, Washington. What's in this grave is worth your tear. There's more than the eye can see. Folly and pride and love lie here, buried alive with me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Eros Turannos by Edwin Arlington Robinson. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Joanna Hoyt. She fears him, and will always ask what fated her to choose him. She meets in his engaging mask all reasons to refuse him. But what she meets and what she fears are less than are the downward years drawn slowly to the foamless weirs of age, were she to lose him. Between a blurred sagacity that once had power to sound him, and love that will not let him be the Judas that she found him, her pride assuages her almost as if it were alone the cost. He sees that he will not be lost, and waits, and looks around him. A sense of ocean and old trees envelops and allures him. Tradition, touching all he sees, beguiles and reassures him. And all her doubts of what he says are dimmed with what she knows of days, till even prejudice delays and fades, and she secures him. The falling leaf inaugurates the reign of her confusion. The pounding wave reverberates the dirge of her illusion. And home, where passion lived and died, becomes a place where she can hide, while all the town and harbor side vibrate with her seclusion. We tell you, tapping on our brows, the story as it should be, as if the story of a house were told, or ever could be. We'll have no kindly veil between her visions and those we have seen, as if we guessed what hers have been, or what they are, or would be. Meanwhile we do no harm, for they that with a god have striven, not hearing much of what we say, take what the god has given, though like waves breaking it may be, or like a changed familiar tree, or like a stairway to the sea where down the blind are driven. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Fairy Song by John Keats. Read for LibriVox.org by Helen Coe. Shed no tear, oh, shed no tear. The flower will bloom another year. Weep no more, oh, weep no more. Young buds sleep in the root's white core. Dry your eyes, oh, dry your eyes, for I was taught in paradise to ease my breast of melodies. Shed no tear. Overhead, look overhead, 'mong the blossoms white and red. Look up, I flutter now, on this flush pomegranate bough. See me, 'tis this silvery bill, ever cures the good man's ill. Shed no tear, oh, shed no tear. The flower will bloom another year. Adieu, adieu, I fly, adieu, I vanish in the heavens blue. Adieu, adieu. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
False but Beautiful by John Rollin Ridge. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Dark as a demon's dream is one I love in soul, but oh, how beautiful in form! She glows like Venus throned in joy above, or on the crimson couch of evening warm, reposing her sweet limbs, her heaving breast unveiled to him who lights the golden west. Ah me, to be by that soft hand caressed, to feel the twining of that snowy arm, to drink that sigh with richest love oppressed, to bathe within that sunny sea of smiles, to wander in that wilderness of wiles and blissful blandishments. It is to thrill with subtle poison, and to feel the will grow weak in that which all the veins doth fill. Fair sorceress, I know she spreads a net, the strong, the just, the brave, to snare, and yet my soul cannot for its own sake forget the fascinating glance which flings its chain around my quivering heart and throbbing brain, and binds me to my painful destiny, as bird that soars no more on high hangs trembling on the serpent's doomful eye. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. By George MacDonald. Read for LibriVox.org by Devorah Allen. The miser lay on his lonely bed, life's candle was burning dim. His heart in an iron chest was hid, under heaps of gold and an iron lid, and whether it were alive or dead, it never troubled him. Slowly out of his body he crept. He said, I am just the same. Only I want my heart in my breast, I will go and fetch it out of my chest. Through the dark, a darker shadow he leapt, saying hell is a fabled flame. He opened the lid, oh hell's own night, his ghost eyes saw no gold. Empty and swept, not a gleam was there. In goes his hand, but the chest is bare. Ghost fingers, aha, have only might, to close, not to clasp and hold. But his heart he saw, and he made a clutch at the fungus puffball of sin. Eaten with moths and fretted with rust, he grasped a handful of rotten dust, and shrieked as ghosts may at the crumbling touch, but hid it his breast within. And some there are who see him sit under the church apart, counting out coins and coins of gold, heap by heap on the dank death mould. Alas, poor ghost and his sore lack of wit, they breed in the dust of his heart. Another miser has now his chest, and it hoards wealth more and more. Like ferrets his hands go in and out, burrowing, tossing the gold about, nor heed the heart that gone from his breast is the cold heap's bloodless core. Now wherein differ old ghosts that sit, counting ghost coins all day, from the man who clings with spirit prone to whatever can never be his own, who will leave the world with not one whit, but a heart all eaten away. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Haunted Tram by P.G. Woodhouse. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. Ghosts of the towers, the grange, the court, ghosts of the castle keep, ghosts of the finicking high life sort, are growing a trifle cheap. But here is a spook of another stamp, no thin theatrical sham, but a spectre who fears not dirt nor damp. He rides on a London tram. By the curious glance of a mortal eye, he is not seen, he's heard. His steps go a creeping, creeping by. He speaks but a single word. You may hear his feet, you may hear them plain, for it's odd in a ghost, they crunch. You may hear the whir of his rattling chain, and the ting of his ringing punch. The gathering shadows of night fall fast. The lamps in the street are lit. To the roof have the eerie footsteps passed, where the outside passengers sit. To the passenger side has the spectre paced. For a moment he halts, they say, then a ring from the punch at the unseen waist, and the footsteps pass away. That is the tale of the haunted car, and if on that car you ride, you won't, believe me, have journeyed far, ere the spectre seeks your side. I, all unseen by your seat, he'll stand, and, unless it's a wig, your hair will rise at the touch of his icy hand, and the sound of his whispered fare. At the end of the trip when you're getting down, and you'll probably simply fly, just give that conductor half a crown, ask who is the ghost and why, and the man will explain with bated breath, and point you a moral thus. is a poor young bloke what was crushed to death by people as fought as they didn't ought for seats on a crowded bus. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Heaven's Paradox by Leonie Adams. Read by Mike Overby, Midland, Washington. Heaven, high heaven, is given by grace, and always shall holy eyes look on ringed celestial space, seraph faces like thin pearl, and the deep wells of paradise. They see Michael's burning shield, who but meek in gazing were, and for their sable dark shall yield, lustre mourned and most his light, reft star and angel, Lucifer. And bending boughs of God they love, where fruits for only love are given, for tender moving all that grove, whose passionate come by chrysoprase in the 7 wasting sins are shriven. Some for disastrous jewels be, his lambs, docility and bliss, since lambs would shrivel hell to see, and on heavenly roots to brood, an elder angel's woe is this. With lips austerely sweetened these, his filial ones beguiling, go, a sidewise bitter smile that sees, their darlings also the accursed, by whose thefts came heaven so. End of poem. This recording's in the public domain.
He Fell Among Thieves by Henry Newbolt. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Ye have robbed, said he, ye have slaughtered and made an end. Take your ill-got plunder and bury the dead. What will ye more of your guest and sometime friend? Blood for our blood, they said. He laughed. If one may settle the score for 5, I am ready. But let the reckoning stand till day. I have loved the sunlight as dearly as any alive. You shall die at dawn, said they. He flung his empty revolver down the slope. He climbed alone to the eastward edge of the trees. All night long in a dream, untroubled of hope, he brooded, clasping his knees. He did not hear the monotonous roar that fills the ravine where the Yassine River sullenly flows. He did not see the starlight on the Lasper hills or the far Afghan snows. He saw the April noon on his books aglow, the wisteria trailing in at the window wide. He heard his father's voice from the terrace below, calling him down to ride. He saw the grey little church across the park, the mounds that hid the loved and honoured dead, the Norman arch, the chancel softly dark, the brasses black and red. He saw the school close, sunny and green, the runner beside him, the stand by the parapet wall, the distant tape, and the crowd roaring between his own name over all. He saw the dark wainscot and timbered roof, the long tables and the faces merry and keen, the college 8 and their trainer dining aloof, the dons on the dais serene. He watched the liner's stem ploughing the foam. He felt her trembling speed and the thrash of her screw. He heard her passengers' voices talking of home. He saw the flag she flew. And now it was dawn. He rose strong on his feet and strode to his ruined camp below the wood. He drank the breath of the morning, cool and sweet. His murderers round him stood. Light on the Lasper hills was broadening fast. The blood-red snow peaks chilled to a dazzling white. He turned and saw the golden circle at last, cut by the eastern height. O glorious life, who dwellest in earth and sun, I have lived, I praise and adore thee. a sword swept. Over the pass the voices one by one faded, and the hill slept. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Hermit by George William Russell, A.E. Read for LibriVox.org by Jen Warren. Now the quietude of earth nestles deep my heart within. Friendships new and strange have birth since I left the city's din. Here the tempest stays its guile, like a big kind brother plays, romps and pauses here a while from its immemorial ways. Now the silver light of dawn, slipping through the leaves that fleck, my one window hurries on, throws its arms around my neck. Darkness to my doorway hies, lays her chin upon the roof, and her burning seraph eyes now no longer keep aloof. And the ancient mystery holds its hands out day by day, takes a chair and croons with me by my cabin built of clay. When the dusky shadow flits, by the chimney nook I see, where the old enchanter sits, smiles and waves and beckons me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Hops by Preston Langley Hickey. Read for LibriVox.org by Andrew Gaunce. Strange deeds transpire where the midnight fire of the hop-pipe lanterns glow, and misty shapes like cringing apes go flitting to and fro. There is beauty rare in the smoker's lair where the opium tapers blow, and the fallen sigh, and some men die as the fancies come and go. For the dreams they dream are dreams of love, of memories fond and sweet. Then they wake in the gloom to their earthly doom, and totter away to the street. And the souls that sigh in the night and die to the hand of their dreams are bound, for their bodies stark mid the damp and the dark, 'tis a city's nameless mound. But the ones who are left with the coming of night are back to their cribs in the wall. Then the picture fades, I awake with a start. 'Tis a dream I have had, that is all. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
How Often by Ben King. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sherr. After Longfellow. They stood on the bridge at midnight, in a park not far from the town. They stood on the bridge at midnight because they didn't sit down. The moon rose o'er the city, behind the dark church spire. The moon rose o'er the city and kept on rising higher. How often, oh, how often they whispered words so soft. How often, oh, how often, oh, how oft. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
How to Make a Shoe by John Headley. Read for LibriVox.org by Rapunzelina. Shoemakers are known both far and wide as men who always cut upside, horse sometimes, also cow leather, to meet the changes in the weather. Sheep and goats are often slain, both unite to make it plain that sheep is used for lining nice, when goat alone would not suffice. Just so with calf as well as kid, some use this linen lined, and think it quite the best for those who feel themselves refined. Refined or not, we think it true, our feet need some protection. To do whate'er they have to do, we make our own selection. Select at all times the best we can, both of shoemakers as well as shoes. This is much the better plan and learns us how to choose. The subject, seated on a chair, one knee the other to rest, has his measure taken fair, the foot at ease is best. The artist views the foot, and straightway takes the length, by measuring it from heel to toe, his size brings content. From 12 to 18 inches long, this stick has many sizes. 3 to the inch is now our song, subject to compromises. Some feet have long toes behind, in the language of the craft. These are not so hard to find, and oft to us been waft. Our artist here will best succeed, if a little head he can measure, for out of that comes very much, to make the feet a treasure. Next around the heel a strap we bring, to the center of the curve, a leather or linen strap is used, and don't affect the nerve. The marks on this an inch represents, also fractions of inch preserved. When made complete it then presents an appearance well deserved. Around the heel I've already said, but that is not quite so, for a round in part and through instead will make it more the go. Now let us here make up our minds, if this trade we would study, that the craft is subject to many fines, if the subject gets very muddy. With strap in hand the instep measure, be sure you get it right, for at this place some have a treasure, which prompts them oft to fight. A little lamp we will it now call, not knowing the exact name of it, nor let our strap the least bit fall, but measure just above it. When we've done this and done quite well, another move will follow, which takes us nearly on the ball and brings us from the hollow. From the hollow now we've just come out, with strap in hand to take the measure neat near on the ball, so that our feet won't shake. If they should shake, the remedy comes, a false sole we do make, to please our subjects at their homes, the soles we there do take. Onward now the way we press, and move along just so, until we reach the part well known to be the toe, the toe. This is the place of which folks do talk, if there is any pressure, because they cannot easy walk, the shoey missed their measure. Just below the ball, across the toes, is where we next are found, for there is nothing worn like shoes when used upon the ground. From here we feel like soaring higher, and soon get at the ankle, which must be fit to suit the buyer, thus avoiding any wrangle. The ankle reached, we then with care measure neat and true. If anything is noticed there, 'twill surely be the shoe. That notice is just what we want, from that we get our living, and if we make a miss on that, it might be past forgiving. From toe to ankle we have come, with an uncertain height, and with the measures we've put down, we'll now add that right. To have the height right is our aim, some like shoes high, some low, but to have them fit is all the same, and this we try to show. Some in one way, some in another, these measures have been taken, until we have them all together, we should not try to shapen. To work now by our measure marked will be our constant aim. A pattern must be cut, to start with that is plain. But plainer still the shoe will be from the pattern we shall cut, because we think you'll all agree, what's opened should be shut. Before our eyes the patterns come, the shapes are clearly seen, a vamp and quarter with a tongue, worked just in between. A stiffen enough sole has found its way, and asks that it be shown, in order at some future day its use might be made known. The parts, you see, stand thus alone, but have a close relation, because these parts must all be shown to keep their proper station. One part not seen, in shape the same, is cut and called the lining, upon which each quarter must be placed. We'll not stop here defining. But show in this cut, if you please, the lining a little larger, with a quarter pasted on it smooth. If not, there'll come a charger. The vamp also has been changed, only one half appears, the cause of which can be explained in less time than number years, when we the lower corners take, and match them well in fact, the centre we at once do make, which guides the following act. The act of uniting quarter and vamp with paste or cement for sewing is done with care, as in this cut the fitness of things is showing. The centre mark on the vamp we'll use to get the quarters placed best, by putting the vamp upon the two 1/2 inch above to rest. One end is reached, but not the last. This end from flax or cotton is made by some men very fast, if the flax is not too rotten. The work which we have now passed through could all be done by standing, having a board to cut upon, and one the paste commanding. But now we wish the scene to change, and begin the ending act, which comes first to him who would arrange the threads indeed intact. We roll the thread upon our knee, to untwist and break with ease, and place the cords 1, 2, and 3, so that the points are formed, if you please. By having the points one below the other, the thread kept free from a knot, we will avoid whate'er there is to bother, while the past may be forgot. We will let that be just as it may, if wrong we'll try and mend it, for surely there will come a day, when after all we'll send it. With the thread arranged as we've described, twisting is quite in order. The figure now shows us how to twist it hard and harder. When one side is twisted hard enough, we simply take the other, and do the same thing over again, so that the threads are worked together. Before the ends are entirely free, one thing around us lingers. We take the thread 3 or 2 in 1 around our left-hand fingers. A large round awl is just the thing to do what we call milling. 2 or 3 trips are sure to bring from fingers to foot the filling. Now our thread is very smooth, but we try to make it smoother by using a piece of cloth to rub, when done free altogether. Something now is sought that sticks, commonly known as wax, and often one gets in a fix when he finds it with a tux. But wax, not tux, is what we want, to make our thread quite nice. We catch it in the middle, and to the end wax thrice. Each time waxing briskly, not stopping on the way, for if we do, we'll miss it, and perhaps we'll have to stay. Our wax should be in season, soft wax in winter use, hard wax in summer, reason, holding together our shoes. A fine point now we're about to make, this part should be waxed better, so that the bristle we may take shall stick like the stamp of a letter. We'll stop here about the thread to take a little whistle until we find a pair to suit, then begin to bristle. The bristles with care have been selected in keeping with the thread. In this case we feel protected because the hog is dead. From Russia, we are told, the best bristles come, but cannot tell you why the hairs upon our hogs at home are not so good to buy. The union of thread and bristle now will keep us to our text, for from this you'll no doubt see what is coming next. The bristle is split a little or halfway, in the left hand has its place, between the finger and thumb to play an important part in the race. 1/2 over the forefinger you see, held in place by the next, the thread and bristle both agreed to be thus placed is best. Do not split but roll it on, some have said and done, by waxing the bristle where the other is split and continued from sun to sun. Now either way to start will do, as much depends on twisting, the hairy part is left for you to make sort of whisting. Back to the scene from whence we came, with our end in place to hasten, make a hole quite through the thread, the point pass through and fasten. So much about the bristle said, no doubt you'll think it strange that needles are not used instead. Some have tried the change. They may be used with good effect in sewing through and through, but when we use a crooked awl, the bristle stands by true. One more remark about the end we thus have kept in view. To find the middle is the thing now left for us to do. Not very hard, but easy quite. In the left hand even joins, the right hand holding the other end. This fills up all the points. Another change in things takes place. This time the clamps appear. Between the knees they run their race and hold the upper dear. The vamp and quarters as they were pasted are seen now in their place, the vamp extending above the clamps with the quarters easy to trace. Begin to sew at extreme end. Put left hand bristle first in. Across the vamp our sewing extend, 2 rows that may be seen. This nicely done, just change a little, the position is clearly seen. When we have this quarter stitched near the back, say ½ inch in between, pull through 1 thread and tie it tight, on the inside to be left. Begin to sew the other quarter, close at the vamp is right. Sew to the back and then begin another row up the front. Sew to the top, 'twill be no sin, but the doing of what is want. These rows, ½ an inch apart, will serve the present state, because now we have a splendid start and getting on first rate. Then down the front on the other side to the vamp be sure to go. Never allow your work to slide, but take it out just so. The front is sewed, the back is not, but it will be very soon. This must never be forgot, as it takes up part the room. The outsides together at the back are seen. As we are about to sew, a little strip put in between to make it stronger grow. Down to the bottom we'll sew the way until it is complete, then trim the seam and rub it well with a bone found on the seat. You will observe the back is changed, the linings are together. This can be quite well arranged by weeping down the leather. Either weeping over and over or through and through, just as the case may be. Neither way is very new, as we may clearly see. But we should do it and rub down flat, for now the time has come, when we have had enough of that, and our upper is near done. The upper has now its right side out with care. A little stitching at the top of the back will make it look quite fair. We stopped stitching, you remember well, before we reached the back, when all the quarters we did dwell, and left a vacant track. That track now is filled up well, yet we do hold it fast, knowing that the time will come to put it on the last. Before that time is reached, however, the eyelets, bear in mind, should each be put in proper place, so that the holes we find will let the strings pass easily through, when punched and set in straight. We have now the upper for our shoe. Do try and make the mate. This upper, completed by the past, has made it much a treasure, for we must also have a last, and fit it up to measure. Since we have kept our seat so long, a change may rest our back, so at the bench we'll take our stand, close by our friend the jack. The Bailey jack is the name of this one screwed down upon the post. For general use it will not miss, but serve our end the most. Lasts are made of many woods, of ash, of oak and maple. Well seasoned is this stock of goods, some kinds are very staple. Some are made with iron plates to clinch the screw or nail, but when we would a peg shoe make, to use these plates would fail. Made also for men and boys, women and girls, for each has on this art a special claim, their feet to train and teach. To dwell here longer would not do, the last we once in the hand. We'll measure the same as we did the foot, and thus our trade command. The length, you know, is measured first, 2 sizes added on will make the toe so comfortable we should like to sing a song. The heel we reach in perfect order, and leave the measure neat. Some shoes are made which look much broader when put upon the feet. The instep now we see again, and measure as before. 1/2 inch off will answer us, no less and not much more. For if we do, we are apt to find the place where shoes do pinch. Across the ball we're now inclined, still measuring by the inch. This is at times a tender spot, bunions develop there, and when they do, 'tis not forgot, we may be e'er so fair. 1/4 size we leave off here, as on our way we go, travelling on without a fear, until we reach the toe. Another 1/4 we would say, at this point we may drop, for we are now quite far away from the ankle and the top. But further yet we are bound to go, the bottom must be reached, where souls are made and often saved, though the savour be impeached. The last we put upon a side, of white or red sole leather, and mark with knife or pencil wide the parts of sole together. The parts are known, each one defined, inner and outer sole. A middle one, when we are kind, lifts and shankpiece make the whole. The inner sole on the last is put, the pegs just where you see keep the sole where it belongs in order to agree. The edge is bevelled from heel to heel, the mark across the breast shows us when and where we may take a little rest. The upper straight upon the last, with the seams appearing right, the stiffening smooth just at the back, will draw upon our side. This should be done when we begin to draw the upper over, so that the last in all its parts shall have a proper cover. Draw steady until we have it close at the heel and at the toe. If these parts should be too loose, it would nearly spoil the shoe. Draw steady, or you'll make a crack, which will there remain, perhaps may cause us to go back and do it over again. The upper in the way described, drawn gently at the toe, we hold it down with our left thumb, while a peg we try make go. On either side of the toe now work, and in the same way fasten the upper down upon the sole. To the heel we now must hasten. Let the upper at the seam have now a secure tack, the stiffening all straight in between the lining and the back. Be sure you get the lining smooth, the part inside the shoe. If it is not, you may sometime have a thing to make you blue. Now put the shoe upon the bench, in the way shown in the cut, and with a string and button use care to close the front. We no doubt now do see the thing taking on a shape, which in the end will surely bring us clear out of the scrape. The shoe is now placed on the jack. A hole for the pin in the last serves to keep the same intact, while the toe piece holds it fast. Now at the breast, draw over outside, close upon the sole. Take your time, for something's gained while filling up the hole. The awl, you see, should not be large. In lasting, use small pegs. Just drive them through the inner sole, no danger of your legs. We will now note the difference, the inside shank is longer. If we would last it very smooth, we must pull all the stronger. The thumbs at this are very clever, when their part is nicely played, serving as a splendid lever when working in the shade. We are now at the inside ball. Be careful not to scratch it. When in position we are found, we are more apt to catch it. When this we've caught and feel safe to leave for the other side, we'll find the heel where the toe has been. By this we must abide. Everything quiet in its place, the future for us yet. Let's last the upper all around till at the toe we get. Still using all in pincer hand, alternating endly, for at this post we've taken stand to grow up very friendly. The toe has crimps, some in the heel, the first is more important, because the toe is always seen, if rough becomes discordant. These crimps are made from left to right, and right to left we go. Then scallop them when to be pegged, not so when it we sew. The shank piece in, the bottom filled, with crimps cut as was said, all ready for the middle sole, which forms an even bed, on which we lay the outer sole. The thing we look for next is moulded near the upper close, and comes quite near our text. The middle sole will make us have a better understanding, and help protect our feet from frost, while we the trade commanding. A strap is used around the foot, the shoe upon the knee. To mould the sole, as we have said, these parts should all agree. When moulded good, edge full from last, trim the sole prepared. Then make a line for pegs to go, for in this we have shared. We to our old friend Jack make haste, with our awl and hammer bright, begin to peg on the line we've marked, 6 to the inch is right. 2 rows around, just in between each other they are put, use them long enough to go clear through, but save them from the foot. The awl hand picks up the pegs, the hammer hand now takes between forefinger and the thumb, and for the hole it makes. By repeating these we soon shall have our work ready for a lift, but first smooth pegs and trim heel seat, or we'll move along too swift. The first lift on will leave it full, making the centre level. With our knife in hand, not very dull, we are prepared to bevel. In this way the heel is built, one lift upon the other. Pegging each will add no guilt, but save our subject bother. Piece by piece until we stop at the proper height, a solid piece used for the top will make it finish right. Nails are driven, both iron and steel, around the top in mind, and on the outside some prefer a few more nails to find. Hammer solid both heel and sole, level as it can be. Whittle the heel down to a size close to the nails you'll see. The heel shave is a tool so good to smooth the heel up nice, for when around it you have gone, its work will here suffice. Cut down the breast, make it square, sandpaper it if you please, then change position very fair, and done with perfect ease. Take out the welt with a knife to suit, do not cut the upper. This same thing is done to the boot, and neither has to suffer. These tools are bought in stores, known to the craft as finding. Some are here from foreign shores, which serve as a binding. A small knife take and trim the edge from the heel around the toe, down to the heel on the other side, our shoe begins to show. The bottom buffed, all but the top, sandpaper all, now we think. Just mark a place across the shank to be blackened well with the ink. The bottom in this shape has come, and looks as if we're parted, but that's not so, as we well know, we are nearer than when we started. The ink when burnished with hot kit, a little heel ball is the thing to use, so that it will be fit to put upon a king. Our Jack and company seen again, the last time for the present, to part perhaps will give us pain, perhaps be very pleasant. A burnisher for the hill behold, use briskly when we finish, for this tale is nearly told, its parts seem to diminish. Many parts have made the whole, some parts are much affected, but when the parts are whole in one, they do become respected. The end is reached, we trust all safe after quite a travel. Though the road was rough from place to place, the thread did not unravel. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
In City Streets by Ada Smith. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Yonder in the heather there's a bed for sleeping, drink for one athirst, ripe blackberries to eat. Yonder in the sun the merry hares go leaping, and the pool is clear for travel-wearied feet. Sorely throb my feet a-tramping London highways. Ah, the springy moss upon a northern moor, through the endless streets, the gloomy squares and byways, homeless in the city, poor among the poor. London streets are gold. Ah, give me leaves a-glinting midst grey dykes and hedges in the autumn sun. London waters wine, poured out for all unstinting. God, for the little brooks that tumble as they run. Oh, my heart is fain to hear the soft wind blowing, soughing through the fir-tops upon northern fells. Oh, my eyes an ache to see the brown burns flowing through the peaty soil, and tinkling heather bells. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
In the Desert by Stephen Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Helen Coe. In the desert, I saw a creature, naked, bestial, who, squatting upon the ground, held his heart in his hands, and ate of it. I said, "Is it good, friend?" "It is bitter, bitter," he answered. "But I like it, because it is bitter, and because it is my heart." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
In Violet by William H. Venable. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. We took a walk in winter woods, my little lad and I. The hills and hollows all were pearl, and sapphire all the sky. Before guerrilla winds we saw the scurrying drift retreat. We thought of budded roots that lay asleep beneath our feet. We spoke of how last year in May one sunny bank we found, where windflowers stood in fairy crowds to charm the gladdened ground. A subtle feeling checked the boy. His small hand held me back with mute appeal that we should tread the wood path's beaten track. "My child, 'tis pleasanter to break new pathways as we go," he said. "I do not like to spoil the beauty of the snow." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Yarn of the Loch Acray by John Masefield. Read for LibriVox.org by Colleen McMahon. The Loch Acray was a clipper tall, with 27 hands in all, 20 to hand and reef and haul, a skipper to sail and mates to bawl. Tally on to the tackle fall, heave now and start her, heave and pawl. Hear the yarn of a sailor, an old yarn learned at sea. Her crew were shipped, and they said farewell. So long, my Toddy, my lovely gel. We sail today, if we fetch to hell. It's time we tackled the wheel a spell. Hear the yarn of a sailor, an old yarn learned at sea. The dockside loafers talked on the quay the day that she towed down to the sea. Lord, what a handsome ship she be! Cheer her, sonny boys, 3 times 3. And the dockside loafers gave her a shout as the red-funneled tugboat towed her out. They gave her a cheer, as the custom is, and the crew yelled, "Take our loves to Liz! 3 cheers, bullies, for old Pierhead, and the bloody stay-at-homes," they said. Hear the yarn of a sailor, an old yarn learned at sea. In the gray of the coming on of night, she dropped the tug at the Tusker light, and the topsails went to the topmast head to a chorus that fairly awoke the dead. She trimmed her yards and slanted south, with her royal set and a bone in her mouth. Hear the yarn of a sailor, an old yarn learned at sea. She crossed the line and all went well. They ate, they slept, and they struck the bell. And I give you a gospel truth when I state the crowd didn't find any fault with the mate. But one night off the River Plate, hear the yarn of a sailor, an old yarn learned at sea. It freshened up till it blew like thunder, and burrowed her deep, lee scuppers under. The old man said, "I mean to hang on, till her canvas busts or her sticks are gone," which the blushing loony did, till at last overboard went her mizzenmast. Hear the yarn of a sailor, an old yarn learned at sea. Then a fierce squall struck the Loch Acray, and bowed her down to her waterway. Her main shrouds gave, and her forestay, and a green sea carried her wheel away. Ere the watch below had time to dress, she was cluttered up in a blushing mess. Hear the yarn of a sailor, an old yarn learned at sea. She couldn't lay to, nor yet pay off, and she got swept clean in the bloody trough. Her masts were gone, and afore you knowed, she filled by the head, and down she goed. Her crew made 27 dishes for the big jack sharks and the little fishes, and over their bones the water swishes. Hear the yarn of a sailor, an old yarn learned at sea. The wives and the girls they watch in the rain for a ship as won't come home again. I reckon it's them headwinds, they say. She'll be home tomorrow, if not today. I'll just nip home and I'll air the sheets, and buy the fixins and cook the meats, as my man likes and my man eats. So home they goes by the windy streets, thinking their men are homeward bound, with anchors hungry for English ground, and the bloody fun of it is, they're drowned. Hear the yarn of a sailor, an old yarn learned at sea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Lord of the Castle of Indolence by James Thomson, 1834 to 1882. Read for LibriVox.org. The Lord of the Castle of Indolence. Nor did we lack our own right royal king, the glory of our peaceful realm and race. By no long years of restless travailing, by no fierce wars of intrigues bland and base, did he attain his super lofty place. But one fair day he lounging to the throne reclined thereon with such possessing grace, that all could see it was in sooth his own, that it for him was fit, and he for it alone. He there reclined as lilies on a river, all cool in sun-fire, bloat in buoyant rest. He stirred as flowers that in the sweet south quiver. He moved as swans move on a lake's calm breast, or clouds slow glidings in the golden west. He thought as birds may think when mid the trees their joy showers music o'er the brood-filled nest. He swayed us all with ever placid ease, as sways the throned moon her world-wide wandering seas. Look as within some fair and princely hall the marble statue of a god may rest, admired in silent reverence by all, soothing the weary brain and anguished breast, by life's sore burthens all too much oppressed, with visions of tranquillity supreme. So self-sufficing, grand and bland and blest, he dwelt enthroned, and whoso gazed did seem endowed with death-calm life in long unwistful dream. While others fumed and schemed and toiled in vain to mould the world according to their mood, he did by might of perfect faith refrain from any part in such disturbance rude. The world, he said, indeed is very good, its maker surely wiser far than we, feeds soul and flesh upon its bounteous food, nor fret because of ill. All good is he, and worketh not in years, but in eternity. How men will strain to row against the tide, which yet must sweep them down in its career! Or if some win their way and crown their pride, what do they win? The desert wild and drear? The savage rocks? The icy wastes austere? Where from the river's turbid rills down flow? But he upon the waters broad and clear, in harmony with all the winds that blow, mid cities, fields, and farms, went drifting to and fro. The king with constant heed must rule his realm, the soldier faint and starve in marches long, the sailor guide with sleepless care his helm, the poet from sick languor soar in song. But he alone amidst the troubled throng in restful ease diffused beneficence. most like a mid-year noontide rich and strong, that fills the earth with fruitful life intense, and yet doth trance it all in sweetest indolence. When summer reigns, the joyous leaves and flowers steal imperceptibly upon the tree. So stole upon him all his bounteous hours, so passive to their influence seemed he, so clothed they him with joy and majesty, basking in ripest summer all his time. We blessed his shade and sang him songs of glee. The dew and sunbeams fed his perfect prime, and rooted broad and deep he broadly towered sublime. Thus could he laugh those great and generous laughs, which made us love ourselves, the world, and him, and while they rang we felt as one who quaffs some potent wine-cup dowered to the brim, and straightway all things seemed to reel and swim. Suns, moons, earth, stars, sweet through the vast profound, wrapped in a golden mist light warm and dim, rolled in a volume of triumphant sound. So in that laughter's joy the whole world carolled round. The sea, the sky, wood, mountain, streams, and plain, our whole fair world did serve him and adorn, most like some casual robe which he might deign to use when kinglier vesture was not worn. Was all its being by his soul unborn, that it should render homage so complete? The day and night, and even the morn, seemed ever circling grateful round his feet. With thee, through thee, we live this rich life pure and sweet. For while he loved our broad world beautiful, his placid wisdom penetrated it, and found the lovely words but poor and dull beside the secret splendors they transmit, the heavenly things in earthly symbols writ. He knew the blood-red sweetness of the vine, yet did not therefore at the revel sit, but straining out the very wine of wine, lived calm and pure and glad in drunkenness divine. Without an effort the imperial sun with ever ample life of light doth feed the spheres revolving round it every one. So all his heart and soul and thought and deed flowed freely forth for every brother's need. He knew no difference between good and ill, but as the sun doth nourish flower and weed with selfsame bounty, he too ever still lived blessing all alike with equal loving will. The all-bestowing sun is clothed with splendor, the all-supporting sun doth reign supreme, so must eternal justice ever render each unsought payment to its last extreme. Thus he most rich in others' joy did seem, and reigned by servitude all effortless. For heaven and earth must vanish like a dream, ere such a soul divine can know distress, whom all the laws of life conspire to love and bless. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Malady by F.S. Flint. Read for LibriVox.org by Andrew Gaunce. I move. Perhaps I have wakened. This is a bed, this is a room, and there is light. Darkness. Have I performed the dozen acts or so that make me the man men see? The door opens, and on the landing, quiet. I can see nothing. The pain, the weariness. Stairs, banisters, a handrail, all indistinguishable. One step farther down or up, and why? But up is harder. Down, down to this white blur it gives before me. Me. I extend all ways. I fit into the walls and they pull me. Light? Light. I know it is light. Stillness, and then something moves. Green, oh green, dazzling lightning, and joy. This is my room. There are my books, there the piano, there the last bar I wrote, there the last line, and oh, the sunlight. A parrot screeches. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Moon is Up by Alfred Noyes. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. The moon is up, the stars are bright, the wind is fresh and free. We're out to seek for gold tonight, across the silver sea. The world was growing gray and old, break out the sails again. We're out to seek a realm of gold, beyond the Spanish Main. We're sick of all the cringing knees, the courtly smiles and lies. God, let thy singing channel breeze lighten our hearts and eyes. Let love no more be bought and sold for earthly loss or gain. We're out to seek an age of gold beyond the Spanish Main. Beyond the light of far Cathay, beyond all mortal dreams, beyond the reach of night and day, our El Dorado gleams, revealing, as the skies unfold, a star without a stain, the glory of the gates of gold beyond the Spanish Main. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
My Shepherd Will Supply My Need by Isaac Watts. Read for LibriVox.org by Antonio Higgins. My shepherd will supply my need, Jehovah is his name. In pastures fresh he makes me feed, beside the living stream. He brings my wandering spirit back, when I forsake his ways, and leads me for his mercy's sake, in paths of truth and grace. When I walk through the shades of death, thy presence is my stay. A word of thy supporting breath drives all my fears away. Thy hand, in spite of all my foes, doth still my table spread. My cup with blessings overflows, thine oil anoints my head. The sure provisions of my God attend me all my days. O may thy house be mine abode, and all my work be praise. There would I find a settled rest, while others go and come, no more a stranger or a guest, but like a child at home. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Near White by Count Cullen. Read for LibriVox.org by Mike Overby, Midland, Washington. Ambiguous of race they stand, by one disowned, scorned of another, not knowing where to stretch a hand and cry, my sister, or my brother. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Net by Max Eastman. Read for LibriVox.org by Jen Warren. The net brings up, how long and languidly, a million vivid quiverings of life, keen-finned and gleaming like a steely knife, all colors green and silver of the sea, all forms of skill and eagerness to be, they die and wither of the very breath that sounds your pity of their lavish death, while they are leaping, star-like, to be free. They die and wither, but the aged sea, insane old salty womb of mystery, is pregnant with a million more, whom she will suckle in her oozy floor, whom she will vomit on a heedless shore, while onward, her immortal currents pour. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Odes 12 and 3 by Horace, 8 to 65 BC. Read for LibriVox.org. Seek not to lift the veil forbidden, nor vainly scan the future hidden, nor strive with Babylonian lore our fate's dark secret to explore. Far wiser is it to endure those ills of life we cannot cure. What though this winter that exhausts the Tyrrhene surge on shattered coasts should be the last for thee and me? It matters not, Lucanoe, fill high the goblet, envious time steals as we speak our fleeting prime. Away with hope, away with sorrow, snatch thou to-day, nor trust to-morrow. Be hoary Inachus thy sire, or be thou risen from the mire, be rich or poor, it boots thee not, unpitying Orcus cast thy lot. All we drive to doom, the urn discharges every life in turn, for every life or soon or late, the boat and endless exile wait. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Ode 12 was from Book 1 of Odes of Horace, translated by Sir Stephen de Vere. Ode 3 was from Book 2 of the Odes of Ovid, translated by W. E. Gladstone.
Pauline by W. B. Yeats. Read for LibriVox.org by Joanna Hoyt. Indignant at the fumbling wits, the obscure spite of our old Pauline in his shop, I stumbled blind among the stones and thorn trees under morning light, until a curlew cried, and in the luminous wind a curlew answered. And suddenly thereupon I thought that on the lonely height where all are in God's eye, there cannot be, confusion of our sound forgot, a single soul that lacks a sweet crystalline cry. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Piano by D.H. Lawrence. Read for LibriVox.org by Holton Johnson. Softly, in the dusk, a woman is singing to me, taking me back down the vista of years, till I see a child sitting under the piano, in the boom of the tingling strings, and pressing the small, poised feet of a mother who smiles as she sings. In spite of myself, the insidious mastery of song betrays me back, till the heart of me weeps to belong to the old Sunday evenings at home, with winter outside and hymns in the cozy parlor, the tinkling piano our guide. So now it is vain for the singer to burst into clamor with the great black piano appassionato. The glamour of childhood days is upon me. My manhood is cast down in the flood of remembrance. I weep like a child for the past. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Queen Mab by Thomas Hood. Read for LibriVox.org by Helen Coe. A little fairy comes at night. Her eyes are blue, her hair is brown, with silver spots upon her wings, and from the moon she flutters down. She has a little silver wand, and when a good child goes to bed, she waves her hand from right to left, and makes a circle round its head. And then it dreams of pleasant things, of fountains filled with fairy fish, and trees that bear delicious fruit, and bow their branches at a wish, of arbors filled with dainty scents, from lovely flowers that never fade, bright flies that glitter in the sun, and glowworms shining in the shade, and talking birds with gifted tongues, for singing songs and telling tales, and pretty dwarfs to show the way through fairy hills and fairy dales. But when a bad child goes to bed, from left to right she weaves her rings, and then it dreams all through the night of only ugly, horrid things. Then lions come with glaring eyes, and tigers growl a dreadful noise, and ogres draw their cruel knives to shed the blood of girls and boys. Then stormy waves rush on to drown, or raging flames come scorching round. Fish dragons hover in the air, and serpents crawl along the ground. Then wicked children wake and weep, and wish the long black gloom away, but good ones love the dark and find the night as pleasant as the day. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Remember by Christina Rossetti. Read for LibriVox.org by Cammie Vavich. Remember me when I am gone away, gone far away into the silent land, when you can no more hold me by the hand, nor I half turn to go, yet turning stay. Remember me when no more, day by day, you tell me of our future that you planned. Only remember me. You understand it will be late to counsel then or pray. Yet if you should forget me for a while, and afterwards remember, do not grieve. For if the darkness and corruption leave a vestige of the thoughts that once I had, better by far you should forget and smile, than that you should remember and be sad. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Seafarer, translated into modern English by Charles C. Fries. Read for LibriVox.org by Kevin S. I can of myself tell a true story, speak of our journeys, how days of toil and times of hardship I often endured. Bitter breast care have I frequently found in my boat made trial of wretched abodes. Black tossing of waves which oft fell upon me through the anxious night watch at the prow of the boat as it crashed by cliffs. Cramped with cold, my feet were numb, bound with frost and icy bounds. Their grief made me sigh, hot ran my heart, hunger tore me within, bit my sea-weary soul. That man knows not who belongs to the land, to the comforts of home. How I, all careworn on the ice-cold sea, endure the winter in the tracks of exile, deprived of dear kinsmen, hung about with icicles as hail flew in showers. There I heard nothing but the roar of the sea, the ice-cold wave, where a swan sometimes sang. I had for amusement only the voice of the seagull and the cry of birds, instead of laughter of men. The sea-mew singing for the drinking of mead. Storms beat the stone cliffs, and the gull shrieked in answer with ice-caked feathers. Often the eagle screamed, wet from the waves. No protecting kinsman there to bring comfort to a friendless existence. Little can he realize, he who has the joy of life living in fort places, with but few dangers, satisfied and one-loving, what I, oft weary upon the sea road, had to endure. Night shadows darkened, it snowed from the north, frost bound the earth, hail fell all about, coldest of grains. Yet now they batter me, the thoughts of my heart, that of the great deeps. The tossing salt waves I should again make trial. A passion urges every season my soul to fare forth, that I far hence may seek the homes of stranger peoples. There's none so self-confident, no man upon earth, none so good in all gifts, nor so vigorous of youth, none so bold in his deeds, nor so faithful to his Lord, that he has not anxiety when he faces a voyage, as to what the Lord will do to him. But he regards not the harp, nor even ring-giving, neither the joys of a wife, nor hope in the world, nor anything else but the tossing of waves. He always has longing, who is a seafaring man. When groves take on blossoms, towns look their best, fields filled with flowers, and the world moves to spring. All things that urge the one eager to go, spur the mind to journeys, the soul set for travel, over the tracks of the sea, to sail far away. Though the cuckoo warns by its gloomy speech, this watchman of summer, proclaiming sorrow, most bitter in heart, that man knows not, the one living in luxury, what those suffer who pursue afar the tracks of exile. Yet now my thoughts wander away from my breast, my soul's spirit among the sea waters. Over the home of the whale it roams afar, to the ends of the earth, and to me comes back, greedy and fierce. The lone flyer screams, and drives my spirit out on the whale road, over the paths of the sea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Seasons by Christina Rossetti. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. Oh, the cheerful budding time, when thorn hedges turn to green, when new leaves of elm and lime cleave and shed their winter screen. Tender lambs are born and bah, north winds find no snow to bring. Vigorous nature laughs ha ha in the miracle of spring. Oh, the gorgeous blossom days, when broad flag flowers drink and blow in and out in summer blaze. Dragonflies flash to and fro, ashen branches hang out keys, oaks put forth the rosy shoot, wandering herds wax sleek at ease, lovely blossoms and in fruit. Oh, the shouting harvest weeks, Mother Earth grown fat with sheaves, thrifty gleaner finds who seeks, russet golden pomp of leaves, crowns the woods to fall at length, bracing winds are felt to stir, ocean gathers up her strength, beasts renew their dwindled fur. Oh, the starving winter lapse, ice-bound hunger pinched and dim, dormant roots recall their saps, empty nests show black and grim, short-lived sunshine gives no heat, undue buds are nipped by frost, snow sets forth a winding sheet, and all hope of life seems lost. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Sex Difference by Alice Duer Miller. Read for LibriVox by Ted Hanlon. When men in Congress come to blows at something someone said, I always notice that it shows their blood is quick and red. But if two women disagree with very little noise, it proves, and this seems strange to me, that women have no poise. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Shooting of Dan McGrew by Robert W. Service. Read for LibriVox.org by Ron Altman. A bunch of the boys were whooping it up in the Malamute saloon. The kid that handles the music box was hitting a ragtime tune. Back of the bar in a solo game sat Dangerous Dan McGrew. And watching his luck was his light o' love, the lady that's known as Lou. When out of the night which was 50 below, and into the din and the glare, there stumbled a miner fresh from the creeks, dog dirty and loaded for bear. He looked like a man with a foot in the grave, and scarcely the strength of a louse. Yet he tilted a poke of dust on the bar, and he called for drinks for the house. There was none could place the stranger's face, though we searched ourselves for a clue. But we drank his health, and the last to drink was Dangerous Dan McGrew. There's men that somehow just grip your eyes and hold 'em hard like a spell, and such was he, and he looked to me like a man who had lived in hell, with a face most hair, and the dreary stare of a dog whose day is done, as he watered the green stuff in his glass, and the drops fell one by one. Then I got to figuring who he was, and wondering what he'd do, and I turned my head, and there watching him was the lady that's known as Lou. His eyes went rubbering round the room, and he seemed in a kind of daze, till at last that old piano fell in the way of his wandering gaze. The ragtime kid was having a drink. There was no one else on the stool, so the stranger stumbles across the room and flops down there like a fool. In a buckskin shirt that was glazed with dirt he sat, and I saw him sway. Then he clutched the keys with his talon hands. My God, but that man could play! Were you ever out in the great alone, when the moon was awful clear, and the icy mountains hemmed you in with a silence you most could hear, with only the howl of a timber wolf, and you camped there in the cold, a half-dead thing in a stark dead world, clean mad for the muck called gold, while high overhead, green, yellow, and red, the north lights swept in bars? Then you've a hunch what the music meant, hunger and night and the stars. And hunger not of the belly kind that's banished with bacon and beans, but the gnawing hunger of lonely men for a home and all that it means, for a fireside far from the cares that are, four walls and a roof above, but oh, so cramful of cozy joy, and crowned with a woman's love, a woman dearer than all the world, and true as heaven is true. God, how ghastly she looks through her rouge, the lady that's known as Lou. Then on a sudden the music changed, so soft that you scarce could hear, but you felt that your life had been looted clean of all that it once held dear, that someone had stolen the woman you loved, that her love was a devil's lie, that your guts were gone, and the best for you was to crawl away and die. 'Twas the crowning cry of a heart's despair, and it thrilled you through and through. I guess I'll make it a spread misere, said Dangerous Dan McGrew. The music almost died away. Then it burst like a pent-up flood, and it seemed to say, "Repay, repay!" and my eyes were blind with blood. The thought came back of an ancient wrong, and it stung like a frozen lash, and the lust awoke to kill, to kill. Then the music stopped with a crash, and the stranger turned, and his eyes they burned in a most peculiar way. In a buckskin shirt that was glazed with dirt he sat, and I saw him sway. Then his lips went in a kind of grin, and he spoke, and his voice was calm. And, "Boys," says he, "you don't know me, and none of you care a damn, but I want to state, and my words are straight, and I'll bet my poke they're true, that one of you is a hound of hell, and that one is Dan McGrew." Then I ducked my head, and the lights went out, and 2 guns blazed in the dark, and a woman screamed, and the lights went up, and 2 men lay stiff and stark. Pitched on his head and pumped full of lead was Dangerous Dan McGrew, while the man from the creeks lay clutched to the breast of the lady that's known as Lou. These are the simple facts of the case, and I guess I ought to know. They say that the stranger was crazed with hooch, and I'm not denying it's so. I'm not so wise as the lawyer guys, but strictly between us two, the woman that kissed him and pinched his poke was the lady that's known as Lou. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sing a Song of Shipwreck by John Masefield. Read for LibriVox.org by Colleen McMahon. He lolled on a bollard, a sunburned son of the sea, with earrings of brass and a jumper of dungaree. And many a queer lash-up have I seen, says he. But the toughest hooray of the racket, he says, I'll be sworn, and the roughest traverse I worked since the day I was born, was a packet of sailor's delight as I scoffed in the seas of the Horn. All day long in the calm she had rolled to the swell, rolling through 50 degrees till she clattered her bell. And then came snow and a squall, and a wind was colder than hell. It blew like the bull of Barney, a beast of a breeze, and over the rail came the cold green lolloping seas. And she went ashore at the dawn on the Ramirez. She was settling down by the stern when I got to the deck. Her waist was a smotherous sea as was up to your neck, and her masts were gone and her rails, and she was a wreck. We rigged up a tackle, a purchase, a sort of a shift, to hoist the boats off in the deck-house and get them adrift, when her stern gives a sickening settle, her bows give a lift, and comes a crash of green water as sets me afloat, with freezing fingers clutching the keel of a boat, the bottom-up whaler, and that was the juice of a note. Well, I clambers across the keel, and I gets me secured, when I see a face in the white of the smother to leeward, so I gives him a hand, and be shot if it wasn't the steward. So he climbs up forward of me, and thank ye, says, and we sits and shivers and freeze to the bone with the sprays. And I sings Abel Brown, and the steward he prays. Would never a dollop to sup, nor a morsel to bite, the lips of us blue with the cold, and the heads of us light, adrift in a Cape Horn sea for a day and a night. And then the steward goes dotty and puts a tune to his lip, and moans about love like a dern old hen with the pip. I sets no store upon stewards, they ain't no use in a ship. And mother, the loony cackles, come and put Willie to bed. So I says, dry up, or I'll fetch you a crack of the head. The kettle's a-bilin', he answers, and I'll go butter the bread. And he falls to singin' some slush about clinkin' a can. And at last he dies, so he does, and I tells you, Jan, I was glad when he did, for he weren't no fun for a man. So he falls forward, he does, and he closes his eye, and quiet he lays, and quiet I leaves him lie, and I was alone with his corp, and the cold green sea and the sky. And then I dithers, I guess, for the next as I knew, was the voice of a mate as was sayin' to one of the crew, Easy, my son, with the brandy, be shot if he ain't comin' to. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Song by Christina Rossetti. Read for LibriVox.org by Cammie Vavich. When I am dead, my dearest, sing no sad songs for me. Plant thou no roses at my head, nor shady cypress tree. Be the green grass above me, with showers and dewdrops wet. And if thou wilt, remember, and if thou wilt, forget. I shall not see the shadows, I shall not feel the rain. I shall not hear the nightingale sing on as if in pain, and dreaming through the twilight that doth not rise nor set, haply I may remember, and haply may forget. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sonnet by Fanny Kemble, read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. There's not a fibre in my trembling frame that does not vibrate when thy step draws near. There's not a pulse that throbs not when I hear thy voice, thy breathing, nay, thy very name. When thou art with me, every sense seems dull, and all I am, or know, or feel is thee. My soul grows faint, my veins run liquid flame, and my bewildered spirit seems to swim in eddying whirls of passion, dizzily. When thou art gone, there creeps into my heart a cold and bitter consciousness of pain. The light, the warmth of life, with thee depart, and I sit dreaming o'er and o'er again thy greeting clasp, thy parting look and tone. And suddenly I wake, and am alone. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Two by Fanny Kemble, read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. When the dawn o'er hill and dale throws her bright veil, oh, think of me! When the rain with starry showers fills all the flowers, oh, think of me! When the wind sweeps along, loud and strong, oh, think of me! When the laugh with silver sound goes echoing round, oh, think of me! When the night with solemn eyes looks from the skies, oh, think of me! When the air, still as death, holds its breath, oh, think of me! When the earth, sleeping sound, swings round and round, oh, think of me! When thy soul o'er life's dark sea looks gloomily, oh, think of me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Two by Fanny Kemble, read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. Oh, turn those eyes away from me. Though sweet, yet fearful are their rays, and though they beam so tenderly, I tremble 'neath their gaze. Oh, turn those eyes away, for though to meet their glance I may not dare, I know their light is on my brow, by the warm blood that mantles there. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Today by Folger Mackenzie, 1866 to 1950. Read for LibriVox.org. Today. It means so much, this little day, this now, wreathed with the wreath of victory on its brow, crushed with the cross of crimson, or the stain of fruitless battles fought in vain. In vain. It means so much, this little clustered bloom of time, noble achievement, music, magic rhyme, sorrow, defeat, despair, and endless gloom, or shall it be the beauty of bright bloom? It means so much, it is so much, to make or mar our destiny, to build or shake our towering temples aimed toward the sun. So much can in a day be done. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Keep a True Lent by Robert Herrick. Read for LibriVox.org by Kevin S. To keep a true Lent. Is this a fast to keep the larder lean and clean from fat of veals and sheep? Is it to quit the dish of flesh, yet still to fill the platter high with fish? Is it to fast an hour, or ragged to go, downcast look and sour? No, 'tis a fast to dole thy sheaf of wheat and meat unto the hungry soul. It is to fast from strife, from old debate and hate, to circumcise thy life, to show a heart grief rent, to starve thy sin, not bin, and that's to keep thy Lent. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Trumpet by Edward Thomas. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Rise up, and as the trumpet blowing chases the dreams of men, as the dawn glowing the stars that left unlit the land and water, rise up and scatter the dew that covers the print of last night's lovers. Scatter it, scatter it. While you are listening to the clear horn, forget men everything on this earth new-born, except that it is lovelier than any mysteries. Open your eyes to the air that has washed the eyes of the stars through all the dewy night. Up with the light, to the old wars, arise, arise. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Two Old Bachelors by Edward Lear. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. Two old bachelors were living in one house. One caught a muffin, the other caught a mouse. Said he who caught the muffin to him who caught the mouse, "This happens just in time, for we've nothing in the house, save a tiny slice of lemon and a teaspoonful of honey. And what to do for dinner, since we haven't any money? And what can we expect if we haven't any dinner, but to lose our teeth and eyelashes and keep on growing thinner?" Said he who caught the mouse to him who caught the muffin, "We might cook this little mouse if we only had some stuffing. If we had but sage and onion, we could do extremely well, but how to get that stuffing, it is difficult to tell." Those two old bachelors ran quickly to the town, and asked for sage and onion as they wandered up and down. They borrowed 2 large onions, but no sage was to be found in the shops or in the market or in all the gardens round. But some one said, "A hill there is a little to the north, and to its perpendicular top a narrow way leads forth. And there among the rugged rocks abides an ancient sage, an earnest man who reads all day a most perplexing page. Climb up and seize him by the toes, all studious as he sits, and pull him down and chop him into endless little bits. Then mix him with your onion, cut up likewise into scraps, when your stuffing will be ready, and very good, perhaps." Those two old bachelors, without loss of time, the nearly perpendicular crags at once began to climb, and at the top, among the rocks all seated in a nook, they saw that sage a-reading of a most enormous book. "You earnest sage," aloud they cried, "your book you've read enough in. We wish to chop you into bits to mix you into stuffing." But that old sage looked calmly up, and with his awful book at those two bachelors' bald heads a certain aim he took. And over crag and precipice they rolled promiscuous down. At once they rolled and never stopped in lane or field or town. And when they reached their house they found, besides their want of stuffing, the mouse had fled, and previously had eaten up the muffin. They left their home in silence, by the once convivial door, and from that hour those bachelors were never heard of more. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Uriel by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Joanna Hoyt. It fell in the ancient periods which the brooding soul surveys, or ever the wild time coined itself into calendar months and days. This was the lapse of Uriel, which in paradise befell. Once, among the Pleiads walking, Said overheard the young gods talking, and the treason too long pent to his ears was evident. The young deities discussed laws of form, and meter just, orb, quintessence, and sunbeams, what subsisteth, and what seems. One, with low tones that decide, and doubt and reverend use defied, with a look that solved the sphere and stirred the devils everywhere, gave his sentiment divine against the being of a line. Line in nature is not found. Unit and universe are round. In vain produced, all rays return. Evil will bless, and ice will burn. As Uriel spoke with piercing eye, a shudder ran around the sky. The stern old war gods shook their heads, the seraphs frowned from myrtle beds. Seemed to the holy festival the rash word boded ill to all. The balance beam of fate was bent, the bounds of good and ill were rent. Strong Hades could not keep his own, but all slid to confusion. A sad self-knowledge, withering, fell on the beauty of Uriel. In heaven once eminent, the god withdrew, that hour, into his cloud. Whether doomed to long gyration in the sea of generation, or by knowledge grown too bright to hit the nerve of feebler sight. Straightway a forgetting wind stole over the celestial kind, and their lips the secret kept if, in ashes, the fire-seed slept. But now and then, truth-speaking things shamed the angel's veiling wings, and, shrilling from the solar course, or from fruit of chemic force, procession of a soul in matter, or the speeding change of water, or out of the good of evil born, came Uriel's voice of cherub scorn, and a blush tinged the upper sky, and the gods shook, they knew not why. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Wardour Street by Humbert Wolfe. Read for LibriVox by Ted Hanlon. There's a small cafe off the avenue where Alphonse, that old sinner, used to fix a 5-course dinner up at 1 and 6, and trust to luck and youth to pull him through. I can't remember much about the wine, except that it was 9d for the quart, called claret, and was nothing of the sort. Cheap like the rest, and like the rest divine. But Alphonse, I suppose, is long since sped, and Madame's knitting needles rusted through, and even Marguerite, like us she flew to wait on, waited on by death instead. Well, Alphonse, well, Madame, well, Marguerite, they've no more use for us in Wardour Street. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.